All right.
All right. For the
Welcome,
100th anniversary.
everyone.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody.
This is Matt Reed,
This is Zack Azar.
and we are watching the original Phantom of the Opera, 1925, Universal Studios, for the 100th anniversary. There's
Woo,
very few times you
woo.
get to see a movie that's over 100 years old.
I know it's going to be happening more now, though. I was thinking, like, when Disney Snow White turns 100, we'll be alive for that.
Yeah.
No, this is my first time ever watching a movie literally on the day of its 100th anniversary, and I might have to do a special tag on Letterboxd just for this occasion.
Yeah, so we'll be giving you some commentary-esque factoids about the movie and just
Yeah,
our own little
we're
personal.
watching a fan edit that Matt found on
Yeah, so we're watching
YouTube.
a
So
edit,
yeah,
or a reconstruction rather, of the original Phantom of the Opera to more match the original 1925 release of the film, using the best picture quality possible based on remaining film elements. So shout outs to iguanaclerk for this version
and
of
the
the
ch- and the
film.
and the channel looks like Phantom Retrospective 2.0.
Mm.
So a channel maybe specifically for this Phantom of the Opera, which is kind of cool.
All right, and then we start off
Right.
with the Paris Opera House. So they reconstructed the whole interior of the Paris Opera House right in the Universal Studios backlot.
They
For you
did,
to
yes.
hear this grand staircase. This was all done in studio with extras ranging in the thousands.
And it's
Which is
crazy.
quite a feat.
I was reading about that actually the soundstage they actually was still existing up until 2014 when they had to make room for the Universal Hollywood theme park, but they were able to they spent a couple $1 million preserving aspects of the Paris Opera House. So it's like I don't know exactly where it is now, but I think they were trying to put it in a museum or put it in more of a proper place on the Universal Backlot tour in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the legendary studio Soundstage 28. Soundstage
Yes,
28.
yes. A bunch of other
And
movies were filmed there and TV
including
shows.
the a remake of Phantom of the Opera from Universal from
Oh, that's right.
1943, starring Claude
43, yeah.
Rains, would
Yes, which
use the stage from the original film.
yeah, that's probably the last version I've watched, Matt. I would say that I probably watched that movie 2 Halloweens ago, for the first time. And like before we came on, I think I watched this movie about 5 or 6 years ago. I think it was before the pandemic, so probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And you said you watched this about 6 years ago. You said
A couple of years
a couple of
ago,
years ago.
during a Halloween watchathon, yes.
Yeah, so I kind of did that too. Um, like I don't think I've ever logged in on Letterbox, but
Yeah, so everything, the boxes were recreated on the Universal Soundstage. So this was a Universal picture, part of their Universal Jewel lineup. So they had specific different categorizations of their picture. So the more large scale pictures were called their Jewel pictures. And it obviously is the one that they spent the most money on.
yeah,
So
you could already tell there's a ton of extras in this movie.
yeah, so it was produced by Carl Laemmle. He's the founder and president of Universal Studios
Oh, that's fine. I didn't know
originally.
that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I believe on stage here is Carla Laemmle, the niece of Carl Laemmle. Originally, she went by the name Rebecca until she changed her moniker to more resemble that of her famous uncle. Carla Laemmle played a prima ballerina in The Phantom of the Opera, and she's also known for her appearance in the 1931 version of Dracula, where she speaks the very first line in the first sound horror film remaining. She's the one that says the line, "Among the rugged peaks that frown down upon the Borgo Pass."
Oh yeah, yes, I
Yeah.
remember that part.
So she has a very large stamp on silent horror film
Hmm.
and early horror film in general. So, and she was a centenarian. She
Hmm.
lived over the age of 100.
Wow. Yeah, I think like 104.
Yeah, before she eventually passed away in 2014, excuse me.
I think they said she was one of the last surviving silent film stars, like from major from like a major film of the era.
And here we have the first appearance of Mary Philbin as Christine Daae, the
Hmm.
lead female role in the film. And
Hmm.
here is her co-star Norman Carey.
He's Raoul, right? Or is this a different?
Ah, yes, he plays Raoul, Vicom Raoul de Chagny.
Hmm. Okay, so they're engaged at this point, or maybe not.
Not yet, not yet. So she is remaining at the opera to pursue everything because she, a strange force, being the person teaching her how to sing, and Eric the
Hmm.
Phantom, who's teaching her how to sing,
Hmm.
is giving her more acclaim because she is getting better at singing through his
Right.
teaching.
Yes.
And but she believe I'm unsure if it's in this cut of the film if it includes the idea of the angel of music, where
Oh
she believes
yes.
that he is the uh a angel brought down to her to help her in her time of need, as foretold by her father who had passed away, as in
Hmm.
the original novel, and I believe was brought into the very famous Andrew Lloyd Webber version of Phantom of the Opera.
Yes. And it's funny. This actually brings me up to the first major change that they made to the novel. Um, so they said that these were the new stage managers. So I believe in the novel, there's two stage managers. I don't know their. I forget their names. All right, this might be the two, and then two new ones come in. Um, and I think in the book, the two managers are replaced by two new managers, but in the movie, in this version, I believe
Yeah,
the
they
manager.
switch ownership. That like they
Yeah, they
own the
switch
opera rather
ownership.
than just
Right,
being
right.
managers.
Yeah, thank you. So that's the first major change to the story.
So the idea to make Phantom of the Opera came when I believe in late 1923 or early 1924 when Carl Laemmle actually visited Paris, and he was a big fan of the opera. So, and he eventually encountered the writer Gaston Leroux, who wrote the original novel that Phantom of the Opera is
Hmm.
based on, and they got to talking about the opera and the opera house, and he lent him a copy of the novel, which apparently Carl read in one day and immediately bought the
Wow.
rights to make the film version of.
Yes, so some people like there's famous stories about that. Like I know I know that happened with the director of The Exorcist. Like, I remember he got the copy of the Exorcist book, another famous horror film, and he read it like in one night and got obsessed with it. He's like, I'm gonna make this into a film. Now, rewatching the version, the version with the color scene.
Oh yes, there is the ball scene, which is in
Mhm.
color, and then the rooftop scene, which is in replicated Hans Schlegel coloring process. Yes.
All right, nice. Yeah, which we'll talk about more of that once we get to those scenes.
Now we have the scene of the ballerinas believing they see the phantom,
Hmm.
being scared that they see the phantom.
Oh yeah, Carlotta. She's in the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical.
And here we have our first note from the phantom
The Phantom. Right, as a
trying
silent
to
film, they have to.
interfere, trying to
Yeah,
have Christine sing instead of the prima donna Carlotta.
there's a whole song in the musical just called Prima Donna. Those guys are like, whoa.
And here we also get Snitz Edwards, who brings some comedic levity to portions of the film.
Hmm.
He was a sort of bit actor in Hollywood
Hmm.
at around this time.
It's interesting.
And here we have the mysterious Persian,
Hmm.
played by Arthur Edmund Carraway.
Could it be that he?
Could it be that he is the Phantom?
It's interesting, Matt. I've noticed with the girls with the ballerina outfits, like I feel like their style of hair and I don't know the makeup. It's almost like they're reminiscent of that era's like vaudeville actresses and performers. Like I wonder if that was done on purpose or just a coincidence.
And here we have the scene where Joseph Bouquet describes the Phantom. I'm sure that this reaction was how people were thinking, like, oh, like getting amped up to eventually see the how the
Mm,
Phantom would look later in
right.
the movie.
Is he holding a real person?
No, he's holding a prop head.
All right. All right, because I would say the prop head, it looks a little
I
like
believe
Charles
the prop
Manson.
head is probably a prop head John the Baptist.
Yeah, I would say it looks like a little like Charles Manson.
No, I think I think it's supposed to be John the
John the
Baptist.
Baptist, yeah. Yeah, some religious figure.
Like maybe for
Like for a church or
like I don't know, maybe they were doing Salome or something like that.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was that a ballet?
I think so.
Yeah.
There definitely is a very famous religious Christian ballet. I think it might be that or something else. Yeah. So I was also reading, Matt, that the Sellers, that the designer of this, while the opera house was pretty much accurate to the Paris Opera House in Paris, that The cellars he said was kind of just left up to the imagination.
They're kind of the cellars as we see is mostly accurate, but eventually,
Mhm.
like, yeah, also expanded upon. It's in, you know, they do create it as if it's a lake, but really the bottom part of the or cellar of the opera house is more like a cistern rather than a large sprawling underground lake as described in the novel or as is seen in other versions of the film.
Right.
Her angel, and I believe this is where we see the shadow of the Phantom
The
for the
shadow.
first time. There we go. So they're performing Faust.
Yeah, Spouse, which is a famous show.
So with Mary Philbin, she actually got her start. She won a beauty contest, and that's where she would begin acting. And then eventually moved to Hollywood to star in Universal films at the behest of Erich von Stroheim, who will be a sort of bit character in a lot of the backstory for this movie.
Interesting.
Now, she's not probably one of the more acclaimed actresses from around this time, but she definitely has a lot of notable films. Like, she would eventually star in Universal Pictures' Victor Hugo adaptation of The Man Who Laughs, which was
Ooh,
going to be a vehicle starring Lon Chaney, but eventually he withdrew from making that film, and that eventually led to them hiring Conrad Veidt to play Gwynplaine in that film. She also starred in D.W. Griffith film Drums of Love, but eventually
interesting.
by the turn of the talkies, she would eventually retire from making films. I'll also go into. She's got like a sort of tragic kind of backstory to her.
Oh no, is it because she was in this movie?
No,
Like those
they're more
stupid,
of
like the film
the
curses? I don't think this isn't a cursed film.
no. You see the little comedic element. He comes in through the floor and all that. That's nice.
I know that was a thing test audiences wanted the film to be a little more comedic.
And we'll get into other versions of the movie as well.
Hmm.
So, between the years 1923 and 1927, Mary Philbin had a relationship with a man by the name of Paul Kohner. He was an Austrian immigrant and introduced. The two of them were introduced together via von Stroheim.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just remember this scene. This scene's not in the more general version of the movie, but I just remember someone.
Let's say I don't think
And
I don't remember this scene, so I probably didn't
yeah,
see a version with this
I
scene.
remember someone describing the scene as the deleted scene where Christine strokes her pussy.
Oh gosh.
But anyway, so Paul Kohner was a Austrian immigrant. He was a film producer and then Hollywood talent agent. Where in the 30s he started a talent agents company, where he was the agent for a lot of famous actors at the time. You want me to
Wow.
name some of them?
Yeah, sure.
Garbo, Marlena Dietrich, Maurice Chevalier, Billy Wilder, Henry Fonda, David Niven, Ingrid Bergman, Rebecca Del Rio, Lana Turner, and
Wow.
and and a lot more. That's a lot of
That's a
really
lot.
famous people. And he would also work as a producer at Universal Studios. He would produce their alternate language sound versions once sound was introduced to film, and they would release films internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And he also co-founded the European Fund with Ernst Lubitsch and Karl Lemley, which helped provide assistance to people who were emigrating to the United States to relocate to America during the Second World War.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, so they Paul Kohner, Mary Philbin, they were madly in love, but eventually, like in 1928 or 1929, they broke it off. It turns out in like a couple years before, they were secretly engaged to each other, but Mary Philbin's parents disapproved of the marriage and had them break it off. I believe like reports at the time noting that the couple's breaking up thought, oh, she broke up with him, but really it was the parents. The reason being that Paul Kohner was Jewish and
Mm-hmm.
Mary Philbin's parents were strict Irish Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
So they broke up, and Mary Philbin would not marry again. And this was about the time where she would eventually retire, in about 1930.
Oh.
But of course, like I said, Kohner would later have a very successful career as producer and talent agent, and he would eventually fall for actress Lupita Tovar, who is the star of the Spanish version of Dracula.
Mm. Oh yeah.
But here's the thing: in 1988, when Paul Kohner died, they discovered in his possession, in his desk, Mary Philbin's love letters to him.
Oh. Well, that's too bad, but she probably would have been a more well-known star, or at least been in a few more films. But she has this film as her big legacy.
And here we get the infamous Box 5,
Mm-hmm.
the Phantom's box.
Yes. I remember this.
Hides his
Hides his
face and
face
will
and will
not.
not speak. But once. I still can't get over the guy that went through the floor.
And more glimpse of the Phantom.
Oh, a little bit like Dracula there with the collar or the whatever you call it. Or
Another
maybe that was the
Dracula connect. Another Dracula connection. They
yeah.
filmed an opera scene on the set, reusing this opera set for uh, Bela Lugosi's version of Dracula.
Wow. Now he's gone.
And here we have Norman Carey.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Norman
look, nice.
Carey was very much like the uh, seductive swashbuckler man of his day. Yeah, he was way more known primarily for his good looks and for, seducing the ladies
Mm.
at
Was
the
a
time
nice,
in a lot of his films.
nice shot of the chandelier right there.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's a swashbuckler, suave.
Yeah, so I think the Wikipedia page describes him as the Clark Gable of his day, at least in terms of his look, and he does kind of look like Clark Gable in a
Yeah, he
way.
does a little bit.
So he was originally born Norman Kaiser from New York, and eventually he moved to Hollywood and began a career in acting before changing his name to Norman Carey.
I'll say having the
Once
last name Kaiser is a little tough
especially like in
in that time.
1916, like right around the time of the
World
First
War
World
One.
War,
Yeah.
was very hard because then you'd be, directly comparing your name with that of the German Kaiser.
Yeah.
So
The Second German Empire, right?
yeah, so this is actually the second time uh, Philbin and Carey would star next to each other, with them starring against each other in Merry-Go-Round, which was another Universal picture.
Mm.
That film was directed by the infamous Erich von Stroheim,
Oh,
who
yeah.
had to be fired from the production, and then they brought in the director of this film, Rupert Julian.
Hmm.
In fact, his handling of that production is probably the film that the reason that he was able to uh, helm the Phantom of the Opera.
That's interesting. I wonder, maybe I'll have to check out that other film, Merry-Go-Round. It's a nice looking beard.
Mm. So eventually, with Norman Carey, like most silent film stars, his popularity would decline in the age of the talkie. But his career would last longer than Mary Philbin's. His last film was Tanks a Million, which came out in 1941. But surprisingly, by this time, he actually joined the French Foreign Legion uh, at the idea of one of his wives. Of course, he was married multiple times.
Mhm.
He would serve in Luxembourg and Morocco before the end of the war. Reportedly, he was a bit handsy during the production of the film, though.
Oh,
But Philbin would say he was always gentlemanly, but she would have to try to keep his paws off her, particularly during the scene on the rooftop.
makes sense how men behaved then.
Right.
Sonorous and triumphant voice.
And will demand your love.
Ooh.
I don't know why he smiles there.
Yeah, I don't know why he smiles. It's like menacingly giggles.
And then he sneaks into the room, and nobody's there.
Nobody's there. So he's thinking at this point that it's all in her head.
No, I think he's thinking like she has a suitor.
I see.
Told her to forget about him.
Because when I first saw this movie, I was like, is he just thinking she's going crazy and thinking that there's someone there? But he's heard other people say that there is a phantom, so.
And here we see the first murder of the movie.
Oh, dun dun dun. So that was a shadow of the body, right? Right there.
Yeah, it was the shit. He opened the door, which revealed behind the
It's a
door
really cool
the
shot.
body that was hanging. Yeah, very cool. There was a lot of German expressionism. Definitely inspired a lot
Oh,
of
definitely. Like
the
that
horror films
that's
of the
speaking of it, like
1920s.
that's like Matt, that staircase right there is very German expressionism.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about the way this was recreated to look like the Paris Opera House, but
Mhm.
there was a art designer called Ben Carré who did a lot of charcoal work, based off of what he remembered from the backstage portion of the Paris Opera House, and the uh, set designers for the movie replicated them basically one to one from
Interesting.
his design, from Ben Carré's design.
Mhm.
And here we see the Punjab lasso, which is the hallmark of the way the Phantom kills people. Now here's an element that'll return. So he killed Joseph Bouquet, the only one who knew his face. And there's his brother, wishing to for revenge against the death of his brother.
Ooh,
More angry Carlotta.
yes.
You know, it's very funny in the 1929 version of the film, which we'll probably get into in a little bit. They edited the film. They wanted a different dancer. Specifically, they refilmed like dancing scenes with Carlotta. They chose a different actress to play Carlotta, and they, through editing and what I'm guessing is through changing title cards and adding in different lines of dialogue, they made Virginia Pearson here, who was originally Carlotta, into Carlotta's mother.
Interesting.
Look at Lon Chaney's hand there. I love the way he flourishes the hand.
Yes.
So I watched a commentary of the film from John Marsalis. He's a Lon Chaney aficionado, and he
Mm.
commented a lot on how you can really tell Lon Chaney's hands by the movement of it, and it's something you kind of notice seeing other Lon Chaney films. But you know, now that you hear it, you'll probably never be able to unsee it. The way he moves his hands, very sort of
Mhm.
almost methodically.
Oh, when did you
So.
watch this commentary?
Uh, not too long ago. I just listened to it as if an audio podcast.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's cool. That's the Persian, right?
Yes. Although in this film he is name is changed to Ledoux, and he, instead of being a Persian, he's made a French inspector.
Oh, that's right. That was another change that was made.
That was a change to the
Story.
from the early version of the film to the eventual release of the film. That September day 100 years ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago tonight. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, so
Carlotta appeared
Ledoux,
as
the
Marguerite.
Persian, is played by Arthur Edmund Carraway, who
Oh yeah,
himself is
I know
Armenian.
the name rings a bell.
So it's very weird how they cast a Middle Eastern Persian to play someone who's Middle Eastern, only to eventually whitewash him to turn him into a Frenchman.
Yeah, I guess that was just too much for people at the time. Here we have Christine. Oh no, that's Carlotta, right?
Yeah, so they
Oh, I
forced
don't know if they I
Carlotta
don't know if they
to.
cut to Christine and then they go to cut to Carlotta. Okay, so that's
Yeah,
Carlotta on the stage. My mistake.
yeah, Carlotta forced the hand of the managers to have her star.
So here
This
we have. This is
this time,
Christine.
Christine, who is the stand-in.
Yep, she's the backstage understudy. So it looks like she's got a letter from Raul.
Very cryptic.
Oh, he's like, I'm not liking that.
Oop.
Uh-oh. The lights are flickering. That can't be a good sign. I know it's a little hard to hear, but the piano score sounds really good for this scene.
Yeah, the score is a organ score from Ben Modal, who was a well-known silent film organist.
Ooh, a great voice fills the auditorium.
Singing is bringing down the chandelier.
Yep, the most iconic, besides obviously the thing that's going to happen with the Phantom, this is probably the most iconic moment from the story, movie, musical show. It's really cool to see it live, the musical, and see the chandelier fall. You've seen it, right, Matt? Did you see it
Oh
with
yeah, yeah, I've seen the
your
musical.
grandmother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a DVD version of the when they performed it at the Royal Albert Hall in the West End in England, and it's really cool seeing a filmed version of it, but I've also was able to see it in Boston like 10 years ago or so. That's what it's right now. It's currently the longest running Broadway show in history. It started, I think, in 1986 or 87 and ran for over 35 years. And it closed actually 2 years ago after over 13,000 performances. And that original Phantom of the Opera, Christine, was played by Sarah Brightman, and the Phantom was played by, just have to remind me his name.
Crawford. It was Crawford.
Yes, Michael Crawford. Yes. Yep. British actor bit actor Michael Crawford.
But I'm assuming there's been tons and tons of different people who have played the stage version of the Phantom musical.
Yes. Yeah, and Steve Barden was the original Raoul. Yeah, there's been tons of Phantoms, tons of Christines and Raouls.
I have come for you. And now after this scene, we get to see the Phantom come out of the shadows.
Yep, obviously the iconic mask. We've only seen him really in shadow, I think, right? Except his hand. We
In
saw his hand.
shadow, from behind, his hands, close up,
It's
or
almost like
from very far away.
it's almost like Jaws. It's like the shark. Like we haven't seen it fully yet.
To build up the anticipation for what's eventually going to happen.
It's like whatever the Hitchcockian thing of what's scary is what you don't see.
Although this
So like you said,
predates
audiences
Hitchcock
in
even
their
before
heads.
his first thriller.
Yes, that's right. And like how you said, audiences in their heads, their anticipation of the Phantom. There's the hand again.
Really, I don't know if this film would be as successful today had it not been for Lon Chaney's performance.
Probably not. I don't think.
Yeah, he frankly steals the show. Look at this mask, made to be almost doll-like.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I know the musical and some other versions have had the mask be like half his face, right?
Yeah, well, this is
And
like
not.
a majority of his face. With
So this is
a
probably more close to the novel, I imagine.
Yeah, the look of the Phantom in this movie is, as we'll see later, is way closer to the description of the Phantom in the novel than basically any other adaptation
Yeah, I
of the
remember. I
Phantom.
remember that. Yeah.
Most I know that most adaptations of Phantom of the Opera tend to uh change like reasons for his deformity or what his deformity looks like. Like a lot of adaptations will use the acid burning, where either through some method from either a jealous lover or a uh, some sort of rival will splash some sort of acid upon his face, and that will lead to his deformity.
And I remember reading one thing, Matt, that said an original, like, I don't think they ever filmed it, but like an original, like, backstory was they were going to have him be like from like whatever, like Persia, Middle East or whatever. And they were going to have him be deformed because of ants.
Yes, so the original scenario was written by Elliot Clausen, who was nominated for an Academy Award for writing several films like The Cop, Skyscraper,
Hmm.
and other films at the second Academy Awards. I love this scene.
Oh yeah, great scene.
Yeah.
Very German expressionist.
Yeah, I believe that's kind of what the going down the to the cistern part of the cellar of the opera kind of looks like.
Hmm.
Um, it just looks like uh the descent down into hell.
Yes. Forgot about the horse.
Really. So, Elliot Clausen was the person who did the original scenario, and a bunch of writers had their uh, hands into the
Oh,
making
for
of this
sure.
film.
I'm sure.
Obviously, in the bunch of rewrites and the bunch of reshoots for the film, but Elliot Clausen stayed mostly true to the original novel, and actually did have the Persian backstory as part of the Phantom's own backstory, where he worked as an assassin for a sultan, and that's where he learned how to do a Punjab noose, which is not really fully explained in this version of the movie,
Mhm.
but apparently in Clausen's scenario, uh, he angered the sultan, which led to him being cast out and then tortured to death via being eaten alive by ants, which led to his facial deformity. Of course, then eventually being saved by the Persian.
Mm. Yeah, which they made, like you said, they made him the inspector investigator
Yeah,
in this
in this
version.
version. I believe test audiences were confused by the character of the Persian, this random Daroga type that just
Oh, like
wanders around the
think
Paris
thinking
Opera.
thinking like he was the Phantom. Oh yeah, the descent in the boat in the water is very famous part of the story.
And here we have the very slow realization she has of him being the opera ghost.
Hmm.
Yeah, but in this version of the movie, we are led or assumed to believe that his deformity, which we'll eventually see, is like in the original novel, something he's born with.
Yes, I know the novel in this kept that close, as like you said, other versions have him by acid or caused by some other external force.
Yeah, the very first version where he is deformed by acid is actually in a Chinese version of the Phantom of the Opera. One of the
Oh
earliest
wow.
surviving Chinese horror films, Song at Midnight.
Wow. So now Christine realizes that he's the ghost of the Phantom.
And here we see the coffin.
The coffin.
She eventually explains.
Oh my gosh, the way he moved his
That
hands,
is what I
Matt.
see. Yeah, yeah, I love
The
it.
way he moved his hands, it was like he was gonna take his mask off. Did you notice that? But then he didn't. He made like another movement with his hands. Like I don't know. It made it look his hand movement made it look like he was gonna
It,
reach for his mask, keeping the audience at the edge of their seats.
so Phantom of the Opera has been adapted a lot of times. So I've mentioned Song at Midnight. We mentioned the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, which eventually turned into a film in, what was it, 2004, directed by
Or with
Joel Schumacher.
Joel Schumacher and Gerald Butler was the Phantom.
And we also mentioned the 1943 remake from Universal starring Claude Rains, which
Mhm.
won 2 Academy Awards, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, I think it's the only Phantom film to win an Oscar. The only version.
Yeah, but even before the 1925 version, there is allegedly a 1916 German version that was released called Der Phantom der Opera. The
Oh, that's
Phantom.
cool.
The
That's cool the
Phantom.
way that the words came out.
And then the Faint.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the look of abject worry that we kind of see
Yeah.
from the Phantom, from the way he moves.
Right. And just besides the music, Christine's probably the only person he truly loves.
Now I'll get back to different adaptations, but here I've been telling you about this. Does that bed look familiar?
It does a little bit.
So this bed was actually owned by a ballerina, very famous ballerina, but eventually it led into the hands of Universal Studios, and they used it for the film for Phantom of the Opera. It's kind of the very ornate bed that is Christine's, that the Phantom had for Christine. You know, believing that
Mm-hmm.
he'll live down in the opera house lair with him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, you'll see this bed again in another film about silent film stars. It's actually featured as Gloria Swanson's bed in her bedroom in Sunset Boulevard.
Wow. And then Matt, tell the audience the other connection with Sunset Boulevard with the guy you were talking about earlier that was fired.
Yeah, so a lot of these people knew or worked with film director Erich von Stroheim, who at
Mm-hmm.
this time was very infamous in Hollywood for being a very belligerent type of filmmaker. He's probably best known for adapting the novel McTeague into the film Greed, where he adapted it basically 1-to-1. A nearly 9-hour cut of the film was originally what he had intended to release. The studio obviously didn't want to release a
Yes.
9-hour film, so they had
No.
cut it down to little under 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like the way he worked. Over extravagance to the extreme. When he made the film, he made another film for Universal like 1921, 1922. I'm forgetting what the name of it is, but he wrapped up so much money for the budget of the film that there was a counter in Times Square that would say the rising budget of the film, which would eventually go into like the millions, at least for that time, of course.
Wow.
It was for the movie Foolish Wives,
I
which he
think
was
I've
the
heard of
director
that.
of, which was also a Universal film.
Hmm. But yeah, he's the
And he,
butler, former director, estranged husband of Gloria Swanson, right, in Sunset Boulevard.
yeah, so that's one more silent film star. The bed in Gloria Swanson's room
Yeah, so
that
they
is also
real
in Sunset Boulevard.
so it's like Billy Wilder was really making those connections with the silent film era in that movie. Literally.
Mm,
And probably one of the most famous silent films of the era
yeah.
being this one.
So back to other adaptations uh, of Phantom of the Opera. We had one in the 1960s, 1962, starring Herbert Lom. I believe that was made for Hammer.
Hammer horror films, yeah.
Yes. And then we have. There was one in the early 90s directed. It was the last film directed by Oscar winner Tony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Phantom of the Paradise, which
Yeah.
sort of combines elements of Phantom of the Opera with elements of Faust, and is way more like a horror rock musical.
There was also another musical version of The Phantom of the Opera from 1976, it looks like. I forgot about this version. And it's
It
not
eventually
nearly
would not. It would not be as famous as the
Andrew Lloyd
one
Webber version.
from Sir Andy. Yes.
Yeah, from Sir Andrew Lloyd, EGOT winner Andrew Lloyd Webber.
And then there was also a version of Phantom of the Opera directed by Dario Argento with Julian Sands. Although that version, he does not have a deformity.
Oh, wow.
I hear it's very bad.
Hmm. Well, Matt, we also can't forget from our childhood Phantom of the Megaplex.
Oh, the Disney film Phantom of the Megaplex.
Yes, the classic Disney Channel film Phantom of the Megaplex with Mickey Rooney in the film.
Ominous undertone of warning
Oh.
describing his score for Don Juan Triumphant. But obviously, the warning seems to be like, don't touch the mask.
Mm. How old do we think the Phantom is? Do we ever really know?
I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of stuff, at least in this version of the film, that keeps that a mystery. We get a sense of the backstory. Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
I believe people in their seats were just at the edge of them
Hmm.
in
I think
1925.
I think people with the big
There
scene
were
coming up.
there were
People
allegations that that people fainted.
right, which there
Here it
always
is.
is.
Here
I
it is.
know there was. Here it is. Oh, just
I like
imagine
how
like that.
I like how this shot is. There was an earlier scene that goes out of focus,
I like that
and
he's almost like
that scene was also out of focus. It kind of makes you think like it's done on purpose, but
I like how he was like frozen mad, so like the audience can really get a good look at him.
oh yeah, it's just wonderful, fantastic makeup from Lon Chaney.
It is
Look at
Man of
that.
1,000 Faces.
Glut your soul on my accursed ugliness.
It's funny, like the fancy words that like we don't use a lot of anymore.
So allegedly, Mary Philbin's reaction to his makeup in this scene is actually legitimate. She was actually terrified because she didn't see the makeup for the Phantom before actually shooting.
Yeah, that's really cool because I know a lot of like
And he
there's
had
been
to
other examples of
apologize
that.
to her after shooting
Oh, he
the scene.
apologized to her. Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
for scaring the hell out of her.
it's pretty good. Really good, actually. Grabs his heart.
Mine.
Mine.
So I think after this scene, I'll go into the different versions, talk about director Rupert Julian, and then I'll go into something about Lon Chaney because I find Lon Chaney like one of the more fascinating artists that was working in the silent era at this time because his acting style is different from a lot of people working at this time.
Absolutely, and probably influenced a lot of the performances. I would say in the later Universal horror films.
This film was probably like the staple of Universal horror films at around the time.
Yes, yeah, like the Blueprint.
Although it's not the first time Universal had delved their feet into horror films. In the 19 teens, they did an adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with King Baggett.
Interesting.
And most people say The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which also starred Lon Chaney, is a horror movie within the Universal cycle. Although it's way more of a period melodrama, more so than a horror film, by all accounts. Here's the color sequence: the masked ball.
Yep, the basketball color sequence.
Using,
Iconic.
I believe it's 2-color Technicolor, but I could be wrong about the process. I believe this scene was done in Technicolor, and the later rooftop scene was hand painted using a Handschlegel film color process.
Wow.
So, like I've said, the version of the film that we're watching is a reconstruction made to more emulate the original September 1925 cut of the film, which is the final 1925 version of the film. And here we have the Phantom coming out as the Red Death.
Yes.
An element that would not come across in black and white.
Yep. Of course, just like, again, symbolism possibly being the devil or some type of demonic character.
Maybe way more a allusion to Poe more than anything.
Oh,
With Mask of the Red
definitely.
Death. just the hand movements. Just
I know. Wonder how heavy that skull was he had to put on his face.
Well, we don't know exactly how he did the makeup, but we do have a very, very good guess of the makeup that he wore. Because Lon Chaney was not one to do a lot of interviews. Was very a well, he was one to not do a lot of like interviews or what
So
anything fawning
a
like
lot of
that.
information about him probably comes from I know his son Lon Chaney Jr. also famous.
Secondary sources, so whatever
Yeah.
interviews we do have from him and stuff like that. Yeah. Um, sort of a private. That's what I mean. Private and kind of individual,
Mhm.
but um. The makeup probably did her. So
Yeah, probably.
he raised the contours of his cheekbones, um, using stuffing weighting on his cheek. He used a skull cap to raise his forehead several inches to accentuate the Phantom's bald head. Would draw pencil lines between the skull cap to accentuate brow lines. Glued his ears back together and painted his eye sockets black to sort of create the skull-like effect of the original novel's depiction of the Phantom as sort of a death head. Used a set of fake rotting teeth. Grease his lips with grease paints, and then would apply putty to sharpen the angles of his nose and insert wires into his nostrils to sort of pull the nostrils upwards to create a sense of there being no nose. And according to an interview with cinematographer Charles Van Enger, Chaney, quote, suffered and, quote, bled like hell.
Oh,
But
jeez.
that was just the artist that Lon Chaney was. Someone who suffered for his art. And through his suffering, he paid dividends in a way, because now we know him for his fantastic makeup jobs that he performed. Mostly by himself, too.
Oh,
So,
he did the makeup on his own.
mostly, yes.
Nice.
Like, he even had his own tackle box made up from an old fishing tackle box that would have all of his supplies in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Lon Chaney, Leonidas Frank Chaney.
Okay, now you're gonna get into more about Lon
Yes.
Chaney, of
So
course.
he was born
Yes.
on April Fool's Day, 1883. So he's an April Fool.
April Fool, baby.
Yeah, I can only think of like one other actor born on April Fool's Day. That's Toshio Mifune, who's another one of my favorite actors.
Oh, yes.
Longtime collaborator with Akira Kurosawa.
Mm-hmm.
So he was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado. He was the son to Frank Chaney and Emma Kennedy, and they were both deaf mutes.
Both of
In
his
fact,
parents?
both of his parents, yes.
Jeez.
So Chaney's grandfather was actually the founder of the Colorado School for the education of mutes, which is now called the Colorado School for the Deaf and Blind.
Mm-hmm.
So his parents actually met there.
Wow. Did not know that.
Now,
Interesting.
I don't quite remember which parent was born deaf and mute, and which one got it later. So hopefully someone can remind me. But through being a child of deaf adults, Chaney kind of learned how to communicate them through sign language, but also through pantomime, which would eventually pay dividends when becoming a actor. Here we have the backstory for Eric.
There we go.
Master of the black arts, exile from Devil's Island, from the criminally insane. Yeah, and here we see Ledoux, formerly the Persian, working with the French prefects to find out who the Phantom is. I've been hunting this man down for ages.
For ages.
Yeah. So in Colorado Springs, he had like a bunch of odd jobs before eventually joining a theater troupe with his brother. And that was around the turn of the century, where he would eventually do vaudeville, and he would actually take his, which would eventually become very popular. He was very good at sort of comedic vaudeville in a way, and he would eventually bring that across the country.
Mm.
And through his vaudeville act, he eventually met his first wife, who was Frances Cleva Creighton.
Oh,
Yeah, they
cool.
eventually married in well, they met in 1905, and then they eventually got married about a year later.
Wow.
Yeah, and they would eventually perform together, although Cleva would sing, and she apparently had a very beautiful voice. And eventually they would have their son, their only son, who was Creighton Chaney. Got his name from his mother's side. But
Mm.
apparently Creighton was born was almost born dead, right? Almost a stillbirth. And allegedly Lon Chaney took his baby son, and this was like he was born in like the winter, like in the middle of February, I believe. So it was really cold outside. So allegedly, he took his baby boy over to a lake and then dunked him in the icy water. And then when he took his baby out, then Creighton started crying.
Oh.
There's even an interview like years later where Creighton Chaney, eventually known as Lon Chaney Jr., did an interview where he said, "I was born black and dead." So, but eventually, Lon Chaney and Cleva would have various marital
Marital?
problems in their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But this would come to a head in 1913 when Cleva would attempt suicide by swallowing mercuric chloride,
Interesting.
like while at the theater.
Wow.
She would eventually survive, but it ruined her throat and thus ending her singing career. The two would eventually divorce about sometime after that, but only after it caused a scandal forcing Chaney to leave the theater business, which is kind of what eventually led him to film. So around like 1912 to 1917, he would do like various bit parts in films, and a lot of these films are lost. A good portion of Lon Chaney's filmography is lost to time, much like about 80% of silent film. Not like the 90% or 95% that most estimates have given, but it's way more like 75, 80%, which is still a very large and saddening portion of film made at the time.
Yes.
If I were to recommend a film for anyone to watch, I recommend watching the fantastic Bill Morrison documentary Dawson City Frozen Time, which talks about lost silent film as a medium, and the films that were found frozen in Dawson City that were just kind of thrown away. Like old silent films that were found that were previously lost, found near preserved in the permafrost of Alaska.
Wow.
It's a slow burn of a documentary in a way, but I do really recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
Love the Phantom's hands there,
Mm-hmm.
grabbing the bottles, replacing them. Yeah, so he would basically play bit parts before eventually ending up getting a substantial role in the William S. Hart picture, Real Gone. William S. Hart was a very well-known silent star of his Western star of his age. I love the Phantom popping out like that.
Yes.
Like telling Christine, I'm always around. I'm here to get you.
Yes.
Like, you did not follow my promise. Well, eventually that part would eventually lead to more successful films.
For Lon Chaney.
Yeah, for Lon Chaney. Like
Mm-hmm.
eventually leading to his breakout role as the Frog in the film The Miracle Man, where Chaney had to pretend that he was pretending to be paraplegic. So it was a very
Mm.
physical kind of role for him that eventually won him audience praise. Then through that, he was eventually known for a lot of his over-the-top roles that would allow him to sort of change his face and appearance,
Thus becoming the man of 1,000 faces.
which eventually led to him becoming the man of 1,000 faces.
Hmm.
Roles like in The Penalty, where he plays a gangster who has his legs amputated, or Quasimodo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, where he had to have a large hump like,
Well, that's right. He played Quasi in a version of that.
or where he plays a armless knife thrower in The Unknown, which he played with longtime collaborator Todd Browning, the man who would
Oh,
eventually direct Dracula.
An armless knife thrower.
Well, he would use
Hmm.
like his feet. Well, actually, in
Oh
The
yeah.
Unknown, great film, I recommend it. He actually is pretending to be a armless knife thrower because he actually has a deformity that would allow people to realize his crimes. He has a double thumb on one hand,
Oh wow.
but he's hiding out from the police by pretending to be a armless man.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
And then, of course, his infamous and very simple appearance as a shark teeth like vampire ghost in the Lost film London After Midnight.
Hmm.
Or the various clowns he's played, like in Laugh Clown Laugh, or what was the other one he made? It was he who gets slapped.
So London After Midnight's a lost film.
Yes.
Oh, it's too bad. It looks like it's cool that that image of him as a vampire looks really cool. That's too bad. Almost looks like the Hatchbot ghost from the Haunted Mansion.
Hmm. Yeah, so he would actually have his own sort of. He played a lot of outsider characters. Like, he was never, like, main romantic leads, the people who would always get the girl. He would always play these sort of, like, characters of people on the outside who would never fit in for whatever reason, usually deformities. And these deformities were probably very much inspired by the deformities that a lot of people faced after World War One. We had a lot
Definitely.
of vets coming home, and a lot of them had facial deformities or were amputees.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean there was still medical practices back then where there was a lot of times soldiers would have to have their arms or their legs cut off to prevent gangrene or the poison gas that was used in the battlefields of World War I.
And also, Lon Chaney had an affinity for the downtrodden and also those who were imprisoned. He
Mm,
wouldn't really answer fan mail, except for those that came from prisoners, interestingly enough. And he
mm.
was a early advocate for prison reform.
Oh, cool guy.
Oh, I have a story about Phantom. So, you know the writer Ray Bradbury, right?
Yes.
Now, I don't know what version of Phantom he saw, but I remember in a documentary hearing him retell about him seeing Phantom for the first time. I don't know
Mm,
if this was in 1925 or 1929, but he saw it with his brother, and he saw the scene with the, takes off the mask and scares the hell out of him and stuff like that. And he's going back in the dead of night with his brother, and his brother goes up in front of him, and he goes under a bridge that they need to pass by to go home. And his brother jumps out and scares him all over again. He back home to his dad, and his dad, hearing the story about how he scared him, he then beats the hell out of his brother.
oh gosh. Jeez. It's an interesting story. And yeah, I think this is probably one of the films that maybe even inspired him to be a writer of science fiction. I feel like these type of movies I think he has said in interviews that horror and sci-fi films from this era like inspired his later literature that he would write. There's the hand again.
Yeah, so Lon Chaney, known for a lot of makeup jobs, although he did participate at least twice in the unfortunate performance of playing an Asian person in one of his films,
Mm.
one or two of his films. We have a
Time
visit.
is up. The time is up for you, Phantom.
I listened to an audio commentary and I liked it was an aside, but he said, "Oh, the Phantom just happens to have two snorkels, just in case him and Christine want to go for a midnight swim in the underground lake."
Yes. So he does not have the mask on now.
Hmm.
I love that he's going in full like a fancy outfit into the
Yeah.
water. That's kind of funny.
So very unfortunately, I gotta get to the end of Lon Chaney. So, by the end of 1929, he found out he developed pneumonia, which eventually led to bronchial lung cancer,
Jeez, that's
which
very
ended up
painful.
being very aggressive. Um, Now, Lon Chaney was one of the last ones to really hold out of turning to sound pictures. By 1929, but by 1930 he eventually would do a sound picture showcasing that Man of a Thousand Faces now can now be Man of a Thousand Voices, and it was a remake of an earlier film of his, The Unholy Three.
Mm-hmm.
But this would eventually be his last film, let alone his only sound picture. He would eventually pass away in August of 1930.
Oh.
But eventually, of course, he would be known as, continue to be known as Man of a Thousand Faces, and he would, weirdly enough, be more associated with the horror films that he made, which doesn't make up a lot of his filmography, but that's probably more or less due to his legacy being preserved in the pages of Forrest J. Ackerman's magazine. What was it called? Monsters of.
Oh yeah, some monsters of something. Get exactly.
Famous monsters of filmland. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always have this section called "Lon Chaney Shall Never Die."
Mm.
And you know what's one of the last requests that Lon Chaney made of Creighton was, "Don't go into acting." Well, he didn't really follow that, and eventually
No, he did
Chaney
not.
would become an actor and eventually take up the moniker of Lon Chaney Jr.
I was just doing research that he ended up having a son and a daughter, and his son's name was Ron Chaney, and Ron Chaney ended up founding, I think in 1992, a Chaney Enterprises, which keeps the legacy of Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Jr. alive for today.
Yeah. And
So is the
eventually Lon Chaney Jr. would become the premier horror actor for Universal Studios in the 1940s, playing not only his most famous role, the Wolfman, but also Frankenstein's monster and Dracula.
the only
In
one to
Son of Dracula.
played all three.
Yes. Now, we've alluded to there being different versions of the movie, and I'll go into that. So, but let me first talk about director Rupert Julian as a very much an aside. So it's very clear that he was hired just on the basis of the success of Merry-Go-Round. And by all accounts, he was a very inept film director, but was very dictatorial. So he didn't get a lot of the skills that von Stroheim had. Like, for example, apparently, according to cinematographer Charles von Enger, who had some spats with him, he wanted the scene, the infamous chandelier scene we saw earlier, to cut to complete black. He kind of, the cinematographer fought against it, because then how would you see the chandelier fall?
Right.
And he urged the cinematographer, let me see the the piece, the the thing that you look through, to check the scene, the lens you kind of look through.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have that at the time, but instead he gave Rupert Julian a poker piece that he just happened to have in his hand. And then he covered that with his eye, and he's like, this is what I want, pitch black. And he would also have, like, spats with Lon Chaney as well, to the point where some people purport that Lon Chaney directed most of his scenes himself.
Wow.
The scenes with, himself, the Phantom in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm to quote the so if I'm to quote the Wikipedia page, Chaney and the rest of the cast and crew had strained relations with Rupert Julian. Eventually, the star and director stopped talking, so the cinematographer, Van Enger, served as the go-between. He would report Julian's directions to Chaney, who would respond, "Tell him to go to hell." I believe that there was reports that Julian was also kind of handsy with Mary Philbin in a way, to the point where they had to bring Julian's wife into the studio to be like, "What are you doing?" like would do various takes and fix her dress over and over again, very perfectionist-like.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. So, and now we get to talk about the different versions, which is a very, very confusing history. So, bear with me.
Yes.
So, September 6th is actually not the specific day in which The Phantom of the Opera premiered. It actually premiered early in the year, I believe in January. There was a first cut of the film with a very different ending. The ending, which kind of more adheres closer to the original novel, where the Phantom has a change of heart through Christine's humility and showing him pity in a way that he had never received before in his life, and then lets all three of them go before eventually dying of a heart attack, quote unquote, a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the film kind of ended. And a lot of things like it kept like the Persian as the Persian instead of this Ledoux character. But test audiences who watched that version of the film didn't really like it.
Interesting.
They didn't like how he went out in the end. They wanted him to be a devil to the end, quote unquote.
Yeah, no sympathy for the Phantom.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of the trope that would lead to that would occur in a lot of Hollywood films where the villain gets his comeuppance in the end as per the film code in the 30s and 40s.
Yes.
So from the poor test screening that they had, they decided to scrap the ending and do various reshoots. Well, Rupert Julian would not come back for reshoots, whether or not he didn't want to because of the poor experience that he had while filming the film, or because he was eventually fired. I'm not 100% sure. But instead, they brought in a different director, Edward Sedgwick. He would eventually be more well known for directing Buster Keaton's film The Cameraman. But he came in and he did a bunch of reshoots. He would eventually shoot the ending that we're about to see, but he would also have added a lot of comedic elements and various other romantic subplots that bear absolutely no resemblance to what we see in the final film. From what I read, those additional scenes are crazy, but those scenes, like the ending of the first cut of the film, are now lost because test audiences for the second version of the film also hated it.
Wow.
So they went back and they re-edited the film to basically the version that we are watching right now. Yeah, the editing was done by a Miss Lois Weber, who was a silent film director in her own right. Probably one of the premier female film directors in Hollywood. Directing like a short film like Suspense, which uses split screen and simultaneous action, as well as controversial films like Where Are My Children or Hypocrites. Films dealing with either full frontal nudity or topics of abortion and birth control.
Yeah, especially talking about that at the time was probably very controversial.
So there was that. So we have the 1925 one, which we kind of see right now. But
so this version is the closest that of the versions that were shown.
I mean, I can tell it's using different.
On September 6th.
I can tell it's using some alternate takes, but mostly for the sake of image quality more than anything.
So we're seeing the closest we can to the version from September 6th, 1925.
There is a version, but in very poor quality. The version of the 1925 version only exist in at-home 16mm prints that were released by Universal Studios in the 30s. So those are of very poor image quality. But then we get the 1929 version, which is probably the more available version. So, and it's all because of the jazz singer. So once sound films became really popular, some studios had the tendency of re-editing some of their older cash cows of which Phantom of the Opera was definitely one for Universal back in 1925. And they decided to go in and make it a sound film. But this would require new scenes and redoing the dialogue. They got some of the actors back, but not all of them. Like, for example, they didn't bring back Lon Chaney because he was under contract with MGM at the time. Because before he was way more freelance. But then once he got really popular, him and Todd Browning were mostly staying at MGM at the time.
It's funny. I read something.
His parts were silent, or his parts were filled in sound-wise by a different actor acting like his sort of the Phantom's little assistant that he has down there.
And I read, Matt, that they were actually going to do like a semi-sequel to this film, but was going to make it more of a tongue-in-cheek kind of like almost like a spoof film, or a film that didn't take itself as seriously as this film does.
So eventually, in the 50s, I believe 1953, Universal had let the rights to this film kind of lapse, so then it became in the public domain. And the print of the film that is most available is the George Eastman House print, which is the best like looking version. It's much shorter. It kind of follows the 1929 version a lot more. It also includes this weird scene of a man holding a lantern, a very mysterious scene that nobody knows where that's from, and is obviously like supposed to be part of a talking sequence in the film,
and probably maybe part of a longer scene that was maybe lost.
Yeah, or possibly part of a international version of the 1929 version. It gets so complicated, and there's also a lot of different versions of the film.
This ending definitely. I would say, go ahead. I would say this ending definitely reminds me of Frankenstein with the villagers having the fire torches.
Oh, definitely. You know, the first version of the that I saw the Phantom of the Opera in was a old, very budget DVD of the film, which has like 2 different Schubert scores that don't match the scenes at all. It's very funny. God.
Do you still have it?
No. And here is Universal's tendency to reuse sets, as we see the Notre Dame set from Hunchback of Notre Dame. So there's the long, complicated history of the Phantom's
different versions.
So the version that is most widely available is actually a very piecemeal version of multiple different films.
Which you said is the 1950s version?
He has a grenade.
Is that a grenade?
He has a grenade.
Well, I forgot those were around then.
No. He's fooled you all to the very end. He had
to the very end.
He had you all fooled. He had you putty in his hands.
Those idiots just falling into the river.
And there goes the Phantom. A devil to the very end.
Yep.
And it ends with an additional scene of their honeymoon.
So they did get married, and now they're on their honeymoon.
Yeah. And the kiss.
Do some versions not have this scene?
No, this is also a scene that's only for the 1925 version. And
Finish.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, those definitely. Hopefully, you learned something, and celebrating 100 years to the day tonight of this film, The Phantom of the Opera, from 1925's New York premiere.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.